The information contained on the Crypto Sports Collector website and social media is for general information and educational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for legal, commercial, and/or financial advice from a licensed professional. The business of online investing is a complicated matter that requires serious financial due diligence for each investment to be successful. You are strongly advised to seek the services of qualified, competent professionals prior to engaging in any investment that may impact your finances.
Two concepts from stock investments that I want to explain in simple terms and how we can apply them to sports NFTs like NBA Top Shot and NFLALLDAY. I am going to take a very oversimplified approach here because what's important is understanding the principles behind these concepts and not necessarily understanding every single thing there is to learn about these concepts. So there are many ways to analyze the value of stocks or any investment, but there are really two core ones that have been used traditionally in the stock market, and that's fundamental analysis and technical analysis. Fundamental analysis uses publicly available information and reports to determine if a stock, for example, is undervalued. And so analysis here can include both quantitative and qualitative data. So let me give an example. You might ask yourself, how is the macroeconomic environment performing? How is the industry that a specific company plays in, how is that doing? Or how is a company being run? You could also look at financial statements for publicly traded companies, and you can see how are their sales and how are their profits doing. And really, in fundamental analysis, kind of take the collection of this information, use it to decide if a stock is undervalued as compared to another company's stock that you're interested in investing in, or a competitor of that company that you're looking at. Technical analysis, on the other hand, uses historical market data like stock prices and uses past performance to predict future behavior. So technical analysts tend to prefer looking strictly at the patterns in the charts of a stock price versus the actual company intangibles like fundamental analysis would. Really, the assumption here is that the market has processed all of the available information and it's reflected in the stock price. Both of these are very, very deep topics, but for our purposes, it's important to understand again the principles behind these concepts to inform our sports NFT investing strategies. So let's go one layer deeper, right? So let's take each of these in lockstep. First, fundamentals. How does this apply to sports NFTs? And I'm going to use the stock market and NBA Top Shot as the use cases here. From a fundamental analysis standpoint, we might look at something like the macroeconomic environment. For example, are we in a recession? Where is the market at? Are we in a deep recession, or how deep of a recession are we in? A follow-up question might be, do people have money to spend on discretionary type things like an NFT, or are they committing part of their investment portfolio to cryptocurrency, for example? Then you can look at the industry, or NFLALLDAY, which in this case is Dapperlabs. How is Dapperlabs doing as a company? Are they ramping up marketing efforts about their platform? Are they evolving their product? Are they taking advantage of things like the NBA playoffs or the NFL playoffs? And are they as a company doing everything they can to make sure that their platform succeeds? And do you believe in what they're doing? Then we could get to brand recognition. So I like to use the example of Coke, right? Coke, everyone knows that brand. Whether or not you drink soda or not, people know the brand of Coke. It's probably the leading brand out there amongst the vast majority of the population. But brand recognition in the sports NFT space, and specifically Top Shot, think LeBron James. You might not be a diehard basketball fan, but more than likely you know who LeBron James is because his superstar status transcends sports. He's a celebrity, right? And so there's brand recognition to LeBron James versus someone that might be lesser known to kind of the mainstream population, right? I'm just throwing out a name, Jordan Poole on the Warriors. So unless you're a Warriors fan or unless you're really into basketball and follow the NBA, you probably don't know who Jordan Poole is, but you definitely know who LeBron James is. So there's a brand recognition to the players in the NBA and NFL. Lastly, quantitative data. So just like you might analyze the financial statements of Coke and see if sales are increasing and if those sales are profitable, you can do the same thing with a LeBron James moment, for example, or any moment really on Top Shot. You might ask yourself, or you might try to observe, is there a lot of interest and volume in a moment, or is it scarcely traded? Is the moment a common or a rare? How many of them are circulation? How many are currently available, being sold? These are kind of quantitative pieces of information that you can help inform kind of your fundamental analysis. And so these are just kind of really quick examples of the types of things you would look at when you're doing fundamental analysis. So let's compare and contrast that to technical analysis. So for technical analysis, kind of in the context of the NBA Top Shot, you might go somewhere like evaluate market or moment ranks, and you might look up the history of what a moment has been historically bought for, what serial number and what moment and what it has been purchased for in the past. And you might take a look at that chart and say, is there an upward trend on a moment's prices? Or is there a downward trend? Or is there any sort of pattern that you're starting to see? The limitation, I will say, with technical analysis, especially as it relates to sports NFTs, is that we are still very, very early in the market for sports NFTs. Yes, it's been, a couple years, but that's still not that much data as compared to a traditional market like the stock market, which has decades and decades of data, right? And so the sample set still pretty small. And so discerning patterns that are consistent and something you can really rely on is very tough right now. You need a lot more data points to start to feel that there's consistency and reliability in that would be required kind of in technical analysis, but it's still something to look at even at this point right now of the sports NFT market cycle. Also understanding the floor prices or the average sale price that you can easily see on Top Shot's website or moment ranks. Those are things that are important to understand as a technical analyst. So to wrap this up, really fundamental analysis versus technical analysis, one is not necessarily better than the other, but I think there's something to be learned about understanding the principles behind them and using them to make informed decisions when looking to purchase, a moment. In another video, I will dive into very specific examples of each, but here I wanted to make sure to make an oversimplified version of these concepts so you have the foundation by which Crypto Sports Collector looks at moments and evaluates whether or not we want to invest in the long term in those moments.